Hello and welcome back to Corby's puppetry course. For the next few weeks we're going to be making some foam puppets just like this little guy here. Now you should have received a puppet pack like this one here. Now inside you are going to find a piece of coloured foam, some template pieces for you to cut out, some arm rods, a variety of plastic eyes and noses, 2 wooden pieces which will be used for your mouth, some felt tip pens, some tape, and a variety of fabric pieces. You will also need some PVA glue and some scissors. So in this session we're going to be focused on cutting out the foam pieces, the mouth pieces, and putting the first layer of glue on them. To begin with, we need to cut out our template pieces. All we need to do is cut out the black outer lines. Now once you've cut them out, you should have 4 pieces, which are your head piece, your body piece, your mouth piece, and your arm piece. Now if you wanted to, you could actually make your own arms, so you could draw out this bottom bit and then you could just customize your own shape. What we're going to do now is use these templates to cut out our foam pieces. You won't need the mouth for this, so you'll need 2 arms and you'll have 1 body and 1 head. However, these pieces will be doubled over. You're going to flip them along there to get a nice bigger piece, and it'll be the same with the head. So you'll put it like this and then flip it. You'll notice there's some grey writing along the sides of your pieces. Now these are going to tell you what to stick together later on. With the head and the body pieces, I'd recommend flipping them over and copying all the writing on the other side, and that will make it much easier as we go along. Now we have our templates, we can take our foam and we need to copy these pieces onto our foam. I'd recommend starting with your body piece, and I'd recommend putting it along the bottom. You'll notice there's a bit that says double here. Now with this, what you need to do is flip the piece over and attach it to the piece you've already drawn. So get that to line up nicely, and then just draw around your template again. Now we have our body, we can draw out our head. I'd recommend turning your piece, and there should be a nice space up here to trace it out. So just give it a test and make sure it is going to fit. That looks like it will. Like with the body, on the head there's a piece that says double here. All we need to do is exactly the same thing. So flip it over, then line up this line with the template, and then draw around it again. And now finally we can draw around our arms. And now we have all of our pieces, we can cut them out with a pair of scissors. This will be a little bit trickier than cutting paper, for example. It's a lot easier if you use the inner bit of your scissors rather than trying to use the whole thing. So you just do little snips at a time, going along nice and slowly. I'd recommend starting with the body, as it's a nice easy bit to get you used to cutting out foam. Next, I'd move on to the head. Most of the lines on the head are nice straight lines, but I'd be extra careful with your neck seams and your mouth seam, as these are curved and they're a little trickier to cut out. The hands are the hardest part to cut out, so be extra careful, especially when cutting around the fingers. An extra trick for your hands is that you can flip them over and do little snips going along the fingers, and that will help to round them off. And once you've cut out all your parts, you should have 2 hands, a head and a body. If you have any excess foam, I'd recommend putting this to the side, as you can use it for decorating later on. We have one final piece we need to cut out, and that is our mouth piece. For this, you need to use the red fabric that's in your pack, and the same with the foam, you just need to draw around it and cut it out. Now we have all our pieces, we just need to put some glue on them. Now in order to glue foam with PVA, we need to do it in 2 strong layers. The first is to harden the foam, and the second is to stick it together. This week we're just going to be doing our first layer and hardening all the bits ready to stick next week. Now for the arms, we only need to put glue on these 2 edges here. Now you can take this straight out of the bottle, you don't need to water it down. We want a nice strong layer, and all you need to do is just put a nice load of PVA along the edge. There you go, just like So the arms only need gluing on these two pieces here. We'll move on to the body next. Now we need to glue all of the sides apart from this bottom edge here. You can squeeze it straight out of the bottle, or if it's easier, you can put it on with a brush. For the arms, we need a square of glue like you can see on the template. Now when you come to gluing your squares, I'd recommend you flip over your foam so you've got a nice clean surface to put your square onto. You could do this by hand, by looking at it and roughly lining it up. You don't have to be exact with this, but it's roughly in line with the V, and you can see where it lines up with on there. And just a nice big square of glue. And you'll see that later on we'll be able to stick that onto there. Yeah, the other thing you can do is you can cut this out, put that on, and that will tell you where the glue needs to go. So that's our body all glued. So for the head, we need to glue around all of our edges apart from the edge here, which is called the mouth opening on your template. So for this, it's a little bit different, and you want to line this up with the little line you drew earlier. And that way you'll have a nice clean head on the outside to decorate. For this, it's a little bit different, and we need to put it on the main surface of our head. We're going to glue the fabric to this, so I'd recommend going nice and wide with this. And now for everything else, it's simply going over all of the edges. And that is our head all glued. The final thing to do for this session is to glue your wooden mouth pieces onto your fabric mouth. You can follow the template, it's nice and simple. You just need to glue the top there and the bottom there. You'll notice on these wooden pieces you have a smooth side and a bumpy side, and we want to put a load of glue all over the bumpy sides. Now they're covered in PVA, we just need to stick them onto our fabric mouth. If it helps, you can cut out these semicircles to know the exact placement, but you don't have to be exact, you just need to follow roughly where it goes. This is my top one, and I'm just going to flip it over and push it down so it sits in the middle. Give it a nice little push like that, and then same again with this one. We're going to flip it over, give it a nice push, make sure there's a line of fabric in the middle and a nice line going along the outside as well. And you can flip it over as well if that's helpful, and give it a push on that side as well. And there we have it, we are all glued and ready to assemble next week. These can all be left to dry until next week. You can also put it in an airing cupboard to speed up the process. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you join one of our puppetry sessions on Tuesday 6 till 7 or Wednesday 4 till 5. And you can also keep in touch on our WhatsApp group. That's all for this session, so I will see you next time. Goodbye!